Hello everyone. I am Dr. Sosengfa Gogoi, creator of your favorite channel ePolitica. Welcome you all to Dialogue 2K21. Today we are here to organize a webinar on a very important topic, higher education opportunities for political science students abroad. And to talk about this topic, we have invited Project Officer of United Nations Sustainable Development Solutions, Mr. Kanan Raghunathan. And this session will be moderated by Rupam Hajorika, MA student, Department of Political Science, Pondicherry University. We are very glad to inform you all that Kanan Raghunathan agreed to deliver a talk within such a short notice on a relevant topic which I definitely believe would help the political science students to pursue higher education careers in outside countries. So he will be talking about some of the major issues pertaining to higher education facilities or higher education opportunities for the students of political science in the foreign universities of the world. So without further delay, I would like to request Rupam Hajorika to start the session. Thank you, everyone.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Rupam Hazarika. I'm from Pondicherry University. Uh, I'm the moderator for this interactive session, and this is my first interactive session as a moderator. So please cooperate with me. First, I would like to thank Dr. Susangpa Gogoi sir for organizing this interactive session for the help of the students, those who want to pursue their education in abroad. The session will be in two parts. First, I will ask questions to Kannan, which will be 30 minutes. After that, the session will be open for everyone. In second session, we will take questions from the participants. So feel free to ask questions. So shall we start this session now, Kannan?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So Kannan, my first question is that what are the things which students should know before taking a career or degree in political science?
Thank you so much, Rupam, for that question. So I'll answer this question in the premise where why and what are the reasons one should take political science as a career or political science degree uh, after their intermediation. So the primary premise which I want to the students or the prospective career enthusiasts to focus is what do I want as a career. So make sure that what kind of job you want, where do you want to work. Means some will like to work in their hometown, some will like to work overseas. So make sure that you must answer the what, where, what level of job, and your salary, your responsibility. You must consider all of these things before choosing a career in political science. This is a must, means it's a prerequisite. It make you the best candidate after your career. Otherwise you'll end up not in your area of interest. That will create more problems for you in the future. Yes, Rupam?
Okay. Then my second question is that how we can apply for masters or PhD abroad?
Okay, thank you for the question. So what are the first I will tell about the criteria. Second, I will explain how, what is the application procedure, and who can apply and how we can apply. So first of all, I will introduce the criteria for admissions abroad. Most of the Indian universities are doing a different thing where we are doing entrance examination in the national level, at the state level. In some universities, we are having centralized allotment systems. So it is different upon different universities. But in the case of foreign universities, there is no need of an entrance exam until a specific course or uh, program is opted. So most of the time, no entrance exams are needed. But if no entrance exam, what will be the criteria? This will be the question. So I will explain that in the next place. Before that, uh, the case of masters abroad, I want to explain how and who can apply. What are the eligibility criteria for applying abroad? Most of the time in India, the case here is after 3 years bachelor's, we are going for 2 years masters, with even without taking a gap. But in foreign countries, after their bachelor's, they will gain professional experience or job experience for 2 or 3 years. They are called as early career professionals, and after their 3 or 4 years job tenure, they'll join a specialized master's course. So this is the criteria whether where they are getting into uh, master's program. So in India, Indian students can opt for that also. But if you have an excellent credential, not only academic, you have extracurricular, whatever, you should have a comprehensive, excellent profile, even though you are eligible for a master's abroad. So the main requisite is that you should have an excellent profile if you are a fresher. Otherwise, you can work for 2 3 years. You can take a specialized master's course. So apart from the entrance examination, they are asking you to submit 2 3 documents or details. This detail determine how your profile is or how you should apply and other procedures. So in for masters and PhD, first you should do is shortlist your university. Most people will have different interest, different faculty interest, different course interest, different university interest. First you should do is shortlist 5 or 10 universities on your own interest, and try to streamline this data and try to apply for 4 or 5 universities. What are the main documents here they need is a personal statement which defines in 500 words or 1000 words, which explains why you are a great fit for this program. The second is referees. You should submit 2 or 3 recommendation letters from faculties you know with or you work with, or a head of the organization where you work with. So it should be a referee, 2 or 3 referees should be there. The third is a strong resume or curriculum vitae. And the fourth, in some cases, they will ask for writing sample. So these are the 4 main documents which needed to pursue a master's course abroad. So after completing these 4 main requisites, what you can do is you can apply through university website. First, you need to prepare these 4 things: person statement, referees, resume, and sample. These are the main documents, coupled with some of the transcripts and your identification documents issued by the government of India. And you should apply through university website and upload relevant documents. And you also make sure that you should have proof of English proficiency. In earlier times, what used to be that you need to submit an IELTS, TOEFL. These are international English uh, examination which determines what is your proficiency in English. So make sure nowadays most of the universities are accepting some candidates who took their undergraduate degrees in English. Means if their undergraduate degree is taught in English, that is also acceptable in most of the universities nowadays. So in the case of, I will explain how these documents are important, why personal statement is important, why CV is important, why the rest of the things are important, and what the universities are looking for in students. So first of all, I'll talk about CV, curriculum vitae, mostly known as biodata. Uh, Most of the people will think that you should have higher grades in getting an admission to a foreign university. That is true, but not in a true, not totally. Uh, Academic excellence is one of the many yardsticks in getting admission to a foreign university. Your CV should contain academic excellence as well as good leadership skills, as well as we already know, we are political science students. We should have social commitment. These leadership skills should reflect in this social commitment aspect, and it will be better if you have sufficient full-time work experience. The second most important document which we need is a personal statement, which you will explain. You will briefly explain why you want to pursue this course, why you want to study this course, why you want to why you want to work under this university and everything. So these are the aspects which you looks for in personal statement. The third one is the referee. The most of the confusing thing is how to find an apt referee. In my view, the apt referee should know you, know your work, know your profile in detail. Then only this recommendation letter will be comprehensive. which will give a higher hand in considering applications to foreign universities. So this will be, if this can be academics as well as professional according to your interest, but basically universities ask for 2 to 3 references. And these reports are very important in most of the times. So thank you. Thank you, Rupa.
So, Kanan, my third question is that how to develop a profile that is unique, which equip a candidate to further his or her studies abroad.
Okay. So you're asking a question that how to develop a profile which stands out unique, and it should be how it will be different. So in my
Yeah.
suggestion, in my suggestion, each and every candidate should have a specific interest inside the subject discipline of political science. Political science offers you different specializations like public policy, even journalism, even public administration. So there are ample opportunities inside political science. The first thing, you need to find a specific area in political science to work upon. It will help you in future to find an appropriate career. In my suggestion, we can use a trial and error method here. Normally what used to happen is, I'll give you an example how this trial and error method is working out in your case. So if you're going to a shop, whether you're going for buying a shirt, you will try different shirts of different sizes, and you will choose the apt one or the perfect one. Same like, while choosing a career for political science, you must ensure that you have a proper specialization which makes you the best fit for the particular specialization. How we can start while we are doing our undergraduate degree? So this will be a most important question most of the students faces. I'll suggest try to get an internship in your area of interest. Most of the internships in political science are not paid. Still, you can use your what summer or fall breaks to get into some organization which are reputed or which is relevant to your area of research, and you can work there. So what is the benefit of working in a reputed organization is you will get access to a lot of resources. Second, you will get a lot of access to faculties who are experts in the subject domain, and as well as you will improve your research as well as academic, as well as whatever skills which is relevant to your subject discipline. So first I'll try all students, means I'll suggest all students to get into an internship of your interest area. Second, if it works for you, if you are feeling that that particular specialization works for you completely, you can continue with that. If it is not working, you can change and you can get internships in other field as well. So choosing a career is very important, so make your choices accordingly. And the second thing is, if you are into academia or research, make sure that you publish your articles. If you're working in some organization, this will help you in a broader way that these experts can give opinion about your works. You can write co-authored articles with these experts. So this will elevate your profile to a different level, and your profile will stand out differently. And seem like you can also apply for some prestigious fellowships, prestigious scholarship, which will ease your work, as well as you will get exposure to work in a multicultural, more expert, resourceful environment. So these are the traits which you need to focus upon to create a profile which stands out unique, which will make you a best or perfect candidate for masters or PhD abroad, or having a career in political science. Thank you. Rupa?
Okay. So my fourth question is that what are the options available after a degree in political science?
Okay. So there are certain specific areas which most prefer a degree in political science, which are often considered only for civil service, but there are ample opportunities even inside the subject discipline of political science. I will explain 2-3 areas which is most relevant to Indian context, which will help you to gain an international exposure as well as academic credentials, as well as you'll get some experience in your personal skill set. So I'll explain 2-3 major areas, and I'll mention what are the prospective areas which is emerging and available. Primarily, I'll be talking about public policy. So public policy is one of the emerging field in political science, which undergraduates of political science mostly are going to specialize. Means public policy means the policy formulation deals with the governments, political parties, and different aspects of the public. So what are the opportunities inside public policy, or inside the sub-subject discipline of public policy? Primarily, in the first place, I'll say is about research and academia. You can research about policies. You can find the issues with policies. What are the issues with formulation? What are the issues with implementation? So you can do research in public policy. So there are certain institutes which are very highly esteemed in India. For example, like National Law School, University of India, they have a master's in public policy program. They also have a research. Even IIT Bombay has a separate dedicated department for public policy. And I think all Indian Institute of Management, IIMs, currently have a dedicated departments for public policy as such. So research and academia as the primary option. Second option is working on fellowships. So most students who graduate from foreign universities, which are seems to be reputed, comes from the background of fellowships. Will whether after their undergraduation or masters, they'll gain ground level experience through public policy fellowships. I will cite 2 or 3 in this case. The first is the LAM fellowship, Legislative Assistant to Member of Parliament fellowship, which has a span of about 11 to 12 months. I think 11 to 12 months, which is the primary duty is to assist a member of parliament in his or her constituency or in Delhi. So this will help the member of parliament in drafting questions, addressing the issues of the particular community constituency. So it will be a comprehensive fellowship, and you will get paid. You'll get a small remuneration also. So this is a comprehensive opportunity for public policy enthusiasts. The second is Mahatma Gandhi National Fellowship, which is funded by the Central Ministry, Government of India. So where it can be termed as a practical plus theory program, where 6 months you'll study in a particular dedicated IIM in an Institute of Management. I think in the Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore is the head coordinating center in for this year. So 6 months you will work. I'm not sure about 6 months, but for a time period you will work in a particular IIM. You will take classes from luminaries and experts, IIM faculties, and in the second period you will be associated with the several district administrations, where you will help them in public policy formulation, assessment, everything. So you'll get paid in the first while you are taking classes. You will get about 50,000 for the first year. You'll get about 50,000. The second year you'll get about 60,000. So these are the two main public policy fellowship. But there are also some fellowship which is are being offered by governments, state governments. For example, the government of Haryana's Chief Minister's Good Governance Associate Program is among one, where you will get to work with district administration, which are noted to have less development indices, where you will work on certain projects of your own area of interest, and you will upgrade the particular district, and you'll get paid also. So these are the public policy fellowships. You can also work in think tanks, which are policy research oriented institutions. In India's case, mainly are Carnegie India, CSEP, which was formerly known as the Brookings Institution, Observer Research Foundation, Center for Policy Research. These are the premier think tanks which is available in India. That is all about public policy. Second part, which comes as international relations. Even inside international relations, there is a swath of opportunities inside international relations to specialize. For example, foreign policy, security policy, military strategy. There are ample opportunities. So what are the opportunities inside IR can be defined into different realms. First will be academia and research. Academia in specific, you can go for teaching jobs. You can do research degrees in India. JNU has a dedicated school for international relations. Even several universities like Jadavpur University, some esteemed universities has dedicated international relations departments. And you can work for think tanks also. Delhi and India, Delhi in specific, India has a lot of think tanks which are to be which are prestigious in the world ranking as well. The first will be the MPIDSA, Manohar Parrikar Institute of Defense and Strategic Defense Studies and Analysis. Second will be Institute of Chinese Studies, New Delhi, Center for Policy Research, Observer Research Foundation, National Maritime Foundation, Center for Land Warfare Studies. So these are named some, but there are many. You can choose according to your area of interest. The third will be if you are an expert or if you are completing master's or PhD, if you are a subject expert, the Ministry of External Affairs are recruiting people who has experience in a particular subject area, where you will get to work with the Ministry of External Affairs for 1 year or 2 year. You'll get a competitive salary, so that will help you in your career as well. So that is the second option in political science. The third option, most important one, most of the people will opt political science for civil service because they want to do something, they want to do impact more people. Same like development sector is also a similar world, where we are not directly working with the government, but we are working to working throughout the grassroots to bring change from the local side through a global approach. So I will tell about development sector. Development sector mainly comprises of there are some master's degrees like in Asim Premji University. Some universities are offering MA Masters in Arts in development, and as well as mostly certain engineers, medical graduates. Many people are coming to development sector fellowships. So what are these fellowships? I will mention about name some 2 or 3 fellowships. So the primarily being the American Indian Foundation's Clinton Fellowship, where you will work in a remote Indian village. You will help in teaching students, working on the poverty or working on the local issues. So you will get a salary, as well as you will get a range of exposure. You will get you can feel the uh, what remote parts of the country. So Clinton Fellowship is regarding that, and Gandhi Fellowship, which is also similar to Clinton Fellowship. There are offered by State Bank of India, that is called Youth for India, where you will work in a rural setting. You will get paid, but you need to work in a remote area without any connectivity and other luxury lifestyle. You need to cope up with the existing facilities, and you can work with the local people. You can part of a larger impact. You can work from the grassroots. One more is Teach for India, where you will teach students from grassroots. So this is all about development sector. There are also opportunities like in politics. For example, nowadays political consulting, political branding are new emerging arenas in political science. If you are interested in political developments in the country, you can definitely, it's worth a shot. The next option is journalism. You can work for broadcast journalism. You can work for newspaper journalism. It's on your own area of interest. There are options for international relations enthusiasts. There are options for public policy enthusiasts. There are options for political enthusiasts, and it's a comprehensive term. Journalism has opportunities to all aspects of political science. And the next will be public relations and political communications. PR is one of the emerging fields in political science. And the next will be, it's an emerging field, which is a risk analyst and intelligence analyst, where you'll analyze the risk of investment. So how a country is compatible for investing. Same like in a corporate field, the emerging field is called risk analyst and intelligence analyst. So these are the major areas where a political science student can opt for a degree after their undergraduation or post graduation. Over to Rupam. Hi Rupam.
Okay, hello Kannan. Thank you very much, Kannan. And my fifth question is that what are the scholarship available and their types and how to apply?
Yes. So first I will explain what are the types of fellowship by criteria. In the second, I will differentiate how to apply for this. And in the third part, I will also mention how to the process of applying, which will be different on different scholarships. And the last part, how to find a scholarship and major scholarships in India for Indian students to study abroad. So starting with criteria, scholarships can be defined into different types. Primarily, it is based on merit. Some places it comes on merit, come means, for example, 50% academics, 50% your financial status. Some are based on regions or countries. For example, if you are some scholarships are specially dedicated for Indians, you can only apply if you are an Indian. Same like there are region-wise scholarships. There are scholarships especially offered for South Asia, Southeast Asia, etc. And there are also scholarships for underrepresented sections like women, people from developing countries, people from students from least developed countries, etc. So these are the types of scholarships by criteria. So how to apply for scholarships while you are studying in a university for your master's or PhD? So most of the universities are not encouraging to apply for scholarship along with your university application, but some universities are also offering scholarships along with your university application. Uh, the other way around is you can apply for your university and you can get your result. Means if you are offered a position, then only you can apply for scholarship. So the first is you can apply along with the university application. Second is separate scholarship application only after getting your admission status. Means if you are getting into a seat, only then you can apply, which are provided by NGOs, foundations, and individuals. And the third is scholarships, which is funded by governments of different countries or international organizations. So the most important question which everybody faces are how to find a scholarship. I'll suggest you something. Means getting a scholarship is easy when you are finding. You can find easily from the university website. For if you need more, means like from NGOs and external funding sources, you can look for websites like Buddy for Study and We Make Scholars for Indians. I suggest these websites. These are very good in shortlisting your scholarships. So I'll mention some of the main scholarships, international scholarships available for Indian students to study abroad. The first will be Commonwealth Scholarship, which is helpful to get scholarships in UK universities. If you are offered a place in a UK university, you'll get the scholarship. But the application process is competitive, so you can visit their website and you can decide. The second is a private fellowship, which is founded by Inlak Shivadasani Foundation Scholarship, which is Indian citizens who needs to have an undergraduate degree or at least 2 years of work experience. So I already mentioned about the early career professional stream as well as excellent fresher scheme. So make sure that you have 2 or 3 year experience, which will get scholarships. You will get scholarships easily if you have better experience, a full-time experience. The third will be Fulbright Nehru Fellowships. These are also based on 2 or 3 years experience. You need to be a early career professionals. And the third one is for, it's an important fellowship which is only available for socially underprivileged classes, National Overseas Scholarship Scheme by the Indian government. So anyone below, any Indian below 35 years of age can apply. The basic criteria is you should belong to a socially underprivileged class, denotified nomadic and semi-nomadic tribes, landless agriculture laborers, and traditional artisans. So these are the criteria. The next one will be the JN Tata Endowment. This is not a scholarship, but it is an interest-free loan where students can avail and they can pay after their studies, 3 years or 7 years, they can pay. It's a relaxable loan amount you can apply. And there is also a loan like Aga Khan Foundation International Scholarship Program. And one more is Join Japan World Bank Graduate Scholarship Program, where you can get to study applications in USA and Japan. The basic criteria is you should have a citizenship from a developing country. So you are from, if you are from India, you are eligible. So these are the major scholarships, and these are the procedures you how to apply, and this is all about. So over to Rupam.
Okay. Thank you very much, Kannan. Yeah, and my last question, after that, this session will be open for the participants. Okay.
Okay.
Which are the best universities for political science and allied subjects?
Okay. Sure. So, in my opinion, best universities is a relative term according to their own personal interest. For example, if you are specialized in international relations, maybe sciences Po will be best. If you are interested in political science in specific, some other universities will be the best. I will be listing 10 universities best according to QS rankings in politics and international studies. So this is the basic overview. But if you need specific courses in detail, that we can address it later, you can contact me in person or you can contact Dr. Chicheng Foy. That is in the latter phase. So best universities according to the QS ranking is the first rank goes to the Harvard University, second is Sciences Po, third is University of Oxford, fourth is Princeton University, fifth is London School of Economics and Political Science, sixth Cambridge University, Stanford University, Yale University, Australian National University, and in the 10th place, National University of Singapore. But in specific, some universities are good for certain areas. For example, if you are studying about ASEAN, it is better to study in an ASEAN university, means a university which is situated in ASEAN countries. That will be better. You will get more exposure, more access to resources in the post particular area. For example, in Asia, the best universities are National University of Singapore, as well as there are universities from China, Tsinghua University, Renmin University. There are some excellent universities. So it is a relative term. Best universities are decided according to your subject area. Sometimes some best faculties, some best departments, or some best universities decided which institutes is the best. Sometimes some think tanks are also good for higher education. For example, in Singapore, under the Nanyang Technological University, S. Rajaratnam School of International Studies is very good in conducting research about Southeast Asia and Asia Pacific in specific. So, in my opinion, it's a relative term. Yes, Rupam.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kannan.
With this note, we come to an end to today's session of Dialogue 2K21. I would like to express my heartfelt greetings to Kannan Raghunathan for his such a deep understanding and deliberation on a topic that has been assigned to him. I would also like to thank Rupam Hazarika for moderating the session so well. I hope our student friends are got benefited from his lecture, and they would definitely try to apply for higher education possibilities in abroad. If you have any questions and queries, please feel free to contact me at susengfa@nlc.sa.in. For furthermore this kind of contents, keep watching your favorite channel, ePolitica. Everything that you wanted to know on political science. Thank you.